Reimagining global finance to figure out how we'll pay to transition to net zero was the topic of discussions at COP26 today. Hundreds of the world's biggest financial institutions, with assets in excess of 112 trillion euros, have now pledged to put climate change at the centre of business. The deal is designed to offer countries facing the worst effects of the climate emergency a fair share of the resources needed to stop using fossil fuels. But the details of exactly how they'll meet those pledges are still being worked out. Announcing the new commitment, Britain's finance minister said there's now a historic wall of capital to help poorer nations reach zero emissions.
6 years ago, Paris set the ambition. Today in Glasgow, we're providing the investment we need to deliver that ambition. The Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero has now brought together financial organisations with assets worth over $130 trillion. This is a historic wall of capital for the net zero transition around the world. What matters now is action, to invest that capital in our low-carbon future.
Well, a coalition representing some 1.2 billion people from over 50 of the most vulnerable countries want richer nations to deliver on their $100 billion promise to help them adapt to climate change. Bangladesh's foreign minister said it's about achieving justice and fairness for the most vulnerable and the least responsible.
We are specifically calling for COP26 outcome, basically to deliver a climate emergency pact. This includes a 50-50 delivery plan on the $100 billion annually from 2020 in climate finance. We're also asking for the IMF to be involved in annual monitoring of this delivery plan's implementation.
Well, let's cross to Glasgow now and speak to Gregoire Laurie, our correspondent who's at COP26 for Euronews. Gregoire, big pledges today from the financial world, but some scepticism as well.
Indeed, the NGOs and the civil society consider that all these announcements and pledges are a step in the right direction, but there is little behind it. And to talk about it, I am joined here with Lucie Pinson, CEO of Reclaim Finance. Lucie Pinson, do you think that now financial institutions are aligning themselves with the Paris Agreement?
Unfortunately not, for the simple reason that the commitments of today does not contain any word about the need to stop financing the expansion of fossil fuels. There is no word about coal, about oil, about gas, which are the big elephant in the room. According to the International Energy Agency, if we want to achieve carbon neutrality, so if these financial institutions are serious about reaching the net zero pledge, they need to stop financing the expansion of the fossil fuel sector. And unfortunately, we can expect the big one like BlackRock or JP Morgan Chase or the UK banks that are hosting this COP to not change the way they are financing the energy sector and to keep financing companies that are expanding in the fossil fuel industry.
Is there a way to make sure that this money reach those who need it?
I mean, for that, there will need to be like some binding requirement, which is not what it is about today. And it's time, if we really want to make sure of that the regulatory, the government step in order to prevent financial institutions to put their money in the wrong sectors, in the polluting sectors that we need to leave behind, and for them to move this money into the solutions. What we can see right now is that financial institutions are increasingly financing renewable energy or sectors that have their place in a 1.5 world because it's profitable from them, but they are doing it on top and not instead of financing the development of fossil fuels. So consequently, their financing is still driving emissions up, while we actually need significant and far-reaching reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions.
What would you like to see to make sure that finance is really financing green projects?
what we would like to see is government stepping in and following the signals that has been sent already by a couple of financial institutions, not the big ones, but the smaller one, the ABP, which is quite big actually, but also La Banque Postale and others that have already joining the world, the action to the talk, and are ending the financial services to companies that keep expanding in the fossil fuel sector.
Thank you, Lucie Pinson. So you see, it is not still convincing here in Glasgow about all these pledges by the financial institutions.